Okay, today we're going to be looking at the cell. This will be a pretty brief description of the cell, more of an introduction, because the cell is so complex. Cells were discovered over 300 years ago. Many would argue this, saying that the cell was discovered many thousands of years ago. But in the science realm today, it's generally credited with being 300 years ago. The cell is an extremely efficient and well-networked system with millions and billions of processors and billions of pieces of information. Cells are the structural and functional units of all organisms. That's why they're so important. Our whole body's made of them. The average human has at least 100 trillion cells. Each cell functions independently and collectively with other cells. Each cell contains a precisely orchestrated and magnificently integrated manifestation of life. The nucleus within the cell controls the growth, metabolism, and the reproduction of the cell. Microbiologist J. said in an interview, "Life is basically the result of an information process, a software process. Our genetic code is our software, and our cells are dynamically, constantly reading that code." Many who study genetics say that a cell has within it thousands of computers that are all exchanging information and functioning in a synchronized manner. This analogy helps us to understand that within the cell there are many singular intelligences independently functioning as they have been designed to function. However, while this is a great analogy, in reality, the nature and function of the inner world of the cell and the inner world of the DNA and the genetic code within the cell is beyond anything we could create in its beauty and sublimity. In this picture, we see the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, the vacuoles, the mitochondria, and the nucleus. So, we'll start with the cell membrane. The cell membrane is a thin layer of protein and fat that surrounds the cell. The cell membrane is semi-permeable, which only allows certain substances to pass into the cell while blocking others. We can see the cell membrane going all the way around it. Much like the skin covers the human being, the cell membrane covers the cell. And I provided the information right here. Thin layer of protein and fat. And because you have the screencast, you can pause and study this accordingly, but I'm going to keep going with this presentation. So next, we'll look at the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is the jelly-like material outside of the cell nucleus that contains organic and inorganic materials in which the organelles are located. So as we can see, all these structures are suspended in the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm comprises cytosol, or intracellular fluid. Cytosol is separated into compartments by membranes. The cytosol is a complex mixture of substances. Okay, and I'll go down to where it's written so you can see. And next we're going to look at the mitochondrion. When we're talking about one mitochondrion, we say it as such. When we're talking about many, we say mitochondria. And this is a picture of a real mitochondria. The mitochondrion is an organelle. An organelle is a specialized subunit within a cell that has a specific function, and it is usually separately enclosed within its own lipid bilayer. Known as cellular power plants because they generate most of the cell supply of ATP that is used for chemical energy by converting energy stored in glucose. They are spherical and rod-shaped organelles with double membranes. The inner membrane is folded many times, forming a series of projections called cristae. Mitochondria are involved in other tasks, such as signaling, cellular differentiation, cell death, and the control of the cell cycle and cell growth. And here's the written part of it. Next, we'll look at the vacuole. A vacuole is a membrane-bound organelle. fluid-filled, membrane-surrounded cavities that are inside the cell. It isolates materials that might be harmful to the cell. It fills with food being digested and waste materials that are being processed out of the cell. It contains water in plant cells. And it helps with maintaining internal hydrostatic pressure within the cell. And it exports unwanted substances from the cell. And now we'll look at the nucleus. The nucleus is a spherical body containing many organelles, including the nucleolus. The nucleus controls many of the functions of the cell by controlling protein synthesis, and it contains DNA in the chromosomes. The nucleus is surrounded by the nuclear membrane, and this is a picture of just the nucleus. And we can see the nuclear envelope surrounding the whole thing in a similar way that the cell membrane surrounds the cell. And the nuclear pores, the nucleolus, the chromosomes, and the chromatin. The nuclear envelope is a double lipid bilayer membrane which surrounds the genetic material in the nucleolus. The nuclear pores are large protein complexes that allow the transport of molecules across the nuclear envelope. The function of the nucleolus is to transcribe ribosomal RNA and combine it with proteins in the formulation of ribosomes. And then there's the chromatin, which you can't really see too well in this picture, but they're all throughout here. In the chromatin, they form into chromosomes. The chromatin is the combination of DNA and proteins that make up the contents of the nucleus of the cell. Chromatin are a complex of nucleic acids and basic proteins that are usually dispersed in the interphase nucleus and condensed into chromosomes in mitosis and meiosis. Once condensed, the chromosome is a single piece of coiled DNA containing many genes. A gene is the molecular unit of heredity of a living organism. And this picture here is very nice. So we can see the cell. And now we know the cell membrane. We understand the mitochondria, the vacuoles. We can see the nucleus here. And inside the nucleus are the chromosomes. And they pull them out. And in the chromosome is the mysterious DNA that makes up all the details of our existence. And in the next screencast, we're going to get much more in-depth into the DNA and what it is. Thank you. Have a good day.